5% auto tariffs announcement has sparked strong reactions. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called the tariffs a direct attack on Canadian workers. He said that Canada will respond as soon as is considering retaliatory measures. His government has already planned a package of counter tariffs worth 155 billion Canadian dollars. Carney also promises an all-in Canada auto industry to protect jobs and reduce dependence on US manufacturing. Meanwhile, China also said that this trade war will have no winners. Let's take a listen to what Carney and China's foreign ministry spokesperson had to say.
All-in Canada network for auto manufacturing components. So what we need to do is build more of those autos and more of each auto right here in Canada. We will build an all-in.
Additionally, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the EU deeply regrets the decision and warned of negative impacts on transatlantic trade. Japan's government also criticised the move, calling it extremely regrettable. Brazilian President Lula da Silva has also slammed the move, warning it could hurt the US and the world economy. China also criticised the tariffs, saying that trade wars have no winners. Let's take a listen to what Shigeru Ishiba and Lula da Silva had to say. Donald Trump's 25% auto tariffs announcement has sparked strong reactions. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called the tariffs a direct attack on Canadian workers. He said that Canada will respond as soon and is considering retaliatory measures. His government has already planned a package of counter tariffs worth 155 billion Canadian dollars. Carney also promises an all-in Canada auto industry to protect jobs and reduce dependence on US manufacturing. Meanwhile, China also said that this trade war will have no winners. Let's listen in to what Carney and China's foreign minister had to say.
An all-in Canada network for auto manufacturing components. So what we need to do is build more of those autos and more of each auto right here.
我们注意到，美国的主要贸易伙伴已经纷纷做出了回应。贸易战、关税战没有赢家，没有哪个国家的发展繁荣是靠加征关税实现的。美方的做法违反世贸组织规则，损害以规则为基础的多边贸易体制和各国人民的共同利益。 也无异于解决自身的问题。
Additionally, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the EU deeply regrets the decision and warned of negative impacts on transatlantic trade. Japan's government also criticised the move, calling it extremely regrettable. Brazilian President Lula da Silva has slammed the move, warning it could hurt the US and world economy. China also criticised the tariffs, saying trade wars have no winners. Let's take a look into what Shigeru Ishiba and Lula had to say.
適切な対応を考えていかねばなりません。あらゆる選択肢というものは当然検討の対象となるものでございます。ただ私どもといたしましては、アメリカに対して日本は相当の投資を行い、相当の雇用を生み出しているということがございます。
Muito ruim essa taxação, porque ao invés de a gente facilitar o comércio no mundo, a gente está dificultando o comércio no mundo. E esse protecionismo não ajuda nenhum país do mundo, não ajuda. Vamos ver as consequências disso. Vamos ver. Eu acho que será ruim para os Estados Unidos.
Additionally, German automakers are sounding the alarm, calling the move a fatal signal for free trade. They have said that the new tariffs will disrupt supply chains and hurt consumers. European automaker stocks have also plunged. In the US, American automakers are urging caution. They say the tariffs must be handled carefully to avoid raising prices for consumers and disrupting North American car production. Meanwhile, Trump is threatening even more tariffs. He warns that if Canada and the European Union try to take action against the US, he will impose even higher duties on their goods. Europe has also criticised the move. France's economy minister Eric Lombard has said that the EU will have no choice but to retaliate. French officials have called the tariffs bad news and say they will move to protect European interests. In the UK, Finance Minister Rachel Reeves has said that the UK will continue talks with the US, but won't rush into a retaliation. Germany is also calling for a strong response. The Economy Minister says that the EU must show strength and not give into US pressure. As trade tensions rise, the world is watching to see if this escalates into a full-blown trade war. We are now joined by Jim Rice, Professor of International Law, located in Vigan, the Philippines. Thank you very much, Jim Rice, for joining us. Pleasure to have you. I want to start with the economic impact on consumers worldwide of how these tariffs are going to play out. Critics argue that these 25% tariffs and parts are going to lead to increased production costs, which may be passed on to consumers. How do you assess the potential financial burden on American consumers as well as those abroad?
Hello, thanks for having me on. It's good talking to you. To try and answer your question, I think that there's no question that Trump's destructive tariffs have done nothing but to create chaos and confusion. And despite what he tries to sell to his followers, these tariffs are going to be picked up and paid for by American consumers, and they're going to lead to retaliatory tariffs, and it's going to do nothing but then to destroy the world trade mechanism that people have been trying to build up for the last 50 years.
Jim, it seems like Trump is using these tariffs as sort of a bargaining chip, not just necessarily in trade, but also in things like immigration, in the traffic of fentanyl, which he's cited in the past for China and Mexico. What are some of the potential things that could go on in regard to global legal bodies, maybe the World Trade Organization? Is there any violation of international law in regard to these tariffs? Can Trump just place these trade tariffs on countries however he pleases?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious by this point that Trump has no regard whatsoever for multilateral treaties and conventions, let alone the World Trade Organization. It seems to me that his policies are very destructive of the international order that's been built up painstakingly over the last 80 years. So there's no other way that I can try to answer that question.
Jim, the imposition of these tariffs has elicited strong reactions from some of the US's closest trading partners, historic trading partners. Is there a chance that this could affect American trade relations, not just in the short term, but in the long term as well?
Absolutely right. There's no question about that. What Trump is doing is eviscerating relations, not only in terms of trade and business, but in terms of tourism, in terms of person-to-person contacts, in terms of diplomatic contacts. I mean, Trump is basically taking Elon Musk's chainsaw and trying to destroy what has been built up ever since 1945.
And Jim, why has Trump targeted auto parts specifically? Why has he gone for these sort of these certain exports? And he's obviously moved from steel and aluminium, and now he's moved into foreign automobiles. Why has he chosen that specifically?
Well, I don't read too much into Trump's strategic thinking. I really believe that since we've known this man for the past 8 to 10 years, I really think that he does the kinds of things that he hears about, moments ago from Fox News and right-wing propaganda channels. I really don't think that there's a point in over-reading too much into what Trump does.
I want to also, we're going to cover this later, but there has been, Trump has spoken out about this possible TikTok deal that's going to go through, and also a chance that China might have in avoiding some tariffs if they were to approve of TikTok to the sale to the US. What can you say about the bargaining style of Trump when it comes to these tariffs?
Well, in a larger sense, what Trump is trying to do is to try to wreck the rule of law. As I recall, prior to the election, there was a constitution, there was a law signed by Congress and passed by the president forcing TikTok to be sold. When Trump got into office, he ignored this. And as far as what I can see, Trump is ignoring the law. He's ignoring Congress.
Jim, is there no kind of checks and balances which prevents Trump from executing these tariffs on his closest historical trading partners?
Well, I really think that what Trump is, first of all, it's quite obvious that he's ignoring Congress altogether. The pretext for the tariffs against Mexico and Canada were the issue of fentanyl, which now turns out to be completely false because he subsequently stated that his intention is to try and relocate manufacturing plants in the United States. So even by his own admission, Trump is basically lying to our foreign trading partners, lying to Congress, and lying to the American people.
Jim Rice, thank you very much for joining us. We now move to more news. This